Hello there, thanks for coming by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard and I have good news and bad news here, but mostly good news, certainly better than nothing, and that's a Sam Cooke concert poster from the late 50s, a beautiful one I haven't seen before, but that's been seriously trimmed. Now, certainly this probably isn't my first video blog you've seen, so if you've seen these other cardboard boxing style concert posters of the era, you know of course that there's white border all around them, and then up top, on top of the poster, there's actually a rather thick, a large area, border area up there, where the printers would print in, you know, the concert date, the ticket price, the venue and the city, stuff like that, and where to get the tickets. Well, every so often, I've seen these a lot over my poster collecting career of decades now. Back then, of course, most people threw them away, so this is better than throwing it entirely away in the trash, but they would want to just keep the colorful part, so they would just trim it down to just the color part, and you're left with this. And it's sort of really mixed satisfaction for a collector like me because, you know, you want the whole thing. You want it complete, but this, as I said, is better than nothing. So I sort of like call it, for short, I call this a trunk. I have a few of these poster trunks, and you know, they sort of like lost their head and their arms and their legs, but you know, all the colorful parts there, and they're still pretty cool. They are pretty cool. They're fun to put on the wall and stuff, even if it doesn't say things like, you know, St. Louis, Missouri, Tuesday, March 12th, tickets $252 and $150, whatever. So, okay, so how do you date a poster like this if there's nothing up top with like Wednesday, March 12th or something like that? Well, of course you go by, mostly by the song titles and other hints too. Sometimes the artists appearing themselves tell you, you know, exactly what part of what deck it is and everything, and you work with a perpetual calendar, and I work with the Joel Whitburn Billboard chart books, and you can pretty much figure it out. And this is early 1958. It wasn't too hard to go with that, and I'll tell you how. So here we have Sam Cooke, of course, up on top, really owning the poster, and I figured this is probably the first poster made of him as the absolute headliner, and excuse me, below his name you can see there's the two song titles they give, the ever-present You Send Me, and I'll Come Running Back to You. Now that's really a stunning pair of Sam Cooke hits. Everybody knows You Send Me, of course. It's an evergreen and a standard. Have to admit I wasn't that familiar with I'll Come Running Back to You, even though I have the Sam Cooke box set and a couple of greatest hits CDs and stuff. But those two records were a great debut for him. They both went to #1. They were his first chart records. We're talking the R&B charts here, and they both went to numero uno. So that's, you know, they're the first two of 35 consecutive R&B chart records for Sam Cooke before he met an untimely death, unfortunately, in the mid-60s. So, you know, #1, even on the R&B charts, is not a narrower chart. It's not that easy to attain. It'd be 4 years before Sam Cooke had another #1 with Twistin' the Night Away. So those records really came in rapid succession. They were within 2 months of each other in late '57, and again they both went to #1. So, and of course Sam Cooke himself would go on, I don't need to tell you, to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, probably the Gospel Hall of Fame from the Soul Stirrers, probably the R&B Hall of Fame. He's sort of considered the definitive soul singer. So did I show you his picture there too? It's just really really a nice colorful poster, lots of reds and yellows, and I personally had not seen even a picture of this one before it came in, so that's pretty exciting when you can see an image you haven't seen before. So right below Sam, as you can see, you've got the silhouettes there with Get a Job being plugged and their photo. I'll move in and show it to you. And they also had a gospel background, so maybe that's how the silhouettes hooked up with the Soul Stirrers and Sam Cooke, I'm not sure. But boy, Get a Job, that's just such a monster record from the 1950s, such a standard. It was #1 both R&B and pop charts, and you simply cannot do any better than that. That's really awesome. It's just, I like to call a song like Get a Job sort of like an American Graffiti level, you know, evergreen of 50s rock and roll. So it's nice to have them on there. What's really odd, I mean just bizarre, is Get a Job was #1 both charts, and they never charted another record. I mean, that can, you know, you got to just, you know, one of 2 or 3 things happen. Did they break up right away, or did they have nothing else in the can and then couldn't get a recording together, had a business dispute and couldn't record? Who knows? But Get a Job hit the charts January 20th of 1958. And they would never chart another record. Of course, I didn't look at the discography to see how many they released, but generally when you have a #1 record, you have enough momentum to at least chart your next couple of singles before the disc jockeys figured out that, you know, you shot your whole wad with the first great record and it was a lucky stroke. But nothing else for these guys, so that's That's pretty odd. And that's also the latest charting record to date, this poster. January 20th of 58 entered the charts, so it took a few weeks to get to #1. So you got to figure this poster was probably designed, what, March of 58, you know, for April 58 shows or something? I'm not sure, but it's sort of fun to try to figure that out. Okay, over to this side of the poster now. You see we have Thurston Harris there with a little bitty pretty one. And his picture, see that? That was top 10, both pop and R&B, so that's pretty cool. And that was Thurston's only hit record. So it's very, very catchy, very familiar, but it's too bad he couldn't follow that up with another hit. In the middle of the poster, we have the Drifters. And 1958, unfortunately, was a pretty lost... By the way, you're going to start to see this cut here, this tear in the poster. I'll try to hold it together. There we go. The Drifters, 1958 was pretty much a lost year for them. They had a lot of personnel changes over the years, and 58 was about the worst. Not only were they between two great lead singers, Johnny Moore before this, and Benny King afterwards, but their manager actually disbanded them and reformed them in 1958. So, you know, who knows who those 5 guys are in the picture? Maybe you do. If you're an R&B fan, you might very well know, or certainly know who the lead singer was, but I would not venture a guess. And the record given there, Got to Get Me a Woman, just absolutely not a trace of it on the charts. It just sank. Now here's an interesting head scratcher with the Dubs. You see that there? And Could This Be Magic? This is really weird. That's an all-black group. See, there's 5 guys there, just like with the Drifters, 5 gentlemen. And but that record, Could This Be Magic, did not chart on the R&B charts, but it went top 40 on the pop charts. It actually reached number 25 on the pop charts. And they had a couple of other singles hit the pop charts, but the Dubs never charted on Billboard's R&B chart. You know, not even number 99 for 1 week. So that's really a head scratcher. That's strange. I don't know what's going on with that, but you know, it just makes all this stuff so fun. So, okay, if I can get my finger out of the way here, we'll cover Ernie Freeman there across the bottom. See that? Maybe I should do a little left or right for you with his face. And Ernie Freeman and his Raunchy orchestra, and then of course the all-in-person refers to the entire poster. And naturally Raunchy is given because that was a #1 R&B hit for Ernie Freeman, and in fact the 3rd of 3 straight top 10 R&B hits leading up to this poster, so they gave him a little more than the usual banner across the bottom now. Now Ernie Freeman's a really interesting story. He went on to work with, well, the members of the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. He didn't work with them collectively, but individually, because as it turns out, he was Reprise Records musical director for 10 years. And of course, Reprise was Frank Sinatra's own label under the Warner Brothers banner. So you can just imagine who Ernie Freeman worked with in the studio as musical director for 10 years for Reprise Records. I don't think Jimi Hendrix, though. We don't have to worry about that having happened. But for example, Ernie Freeman worked on and appeared on and arranged That's Life by Sinatra and Strangers in the Night. So it's really funny to see this, you know, this R&B bill, and then later on, a decade or so later, whatever, he was working with Sinatra on those classic MOR hits, you know. Ernie Freeman also had an alter ego. He led a group called Bee Bumble and the Stingers. And they had a couple of singles with 45 RPM collectors just love to seek out. And then finally, Ernie Freeman went on and did some string arranged some strings on Simon and Garfunkel's beautiful, beautiful album, Bridge Over Troubled Water. So that just shows how, you know, eclectic, you know, you can be if you have musical talent and you just work with people. And there you have the strings on Bridge Over Troubled Water, whether it's the title track or some of the album tracks, are really beautiful. So that's a nice feather for Ernie Freeman as well. So there you have it, Sam Cooke, 1958. I would love to find this thing with all the borders and the venue info on the top for any city the tour stopped in, so let me know if you see one. I'd love to see at least a picture if I can't get the poster from you. But in the meantime, it's nice to have this image because, you know, so many of these things were chucked that sometimes there's some of them out there we've never even seen a trunk image of, so, you know. So, hope you enjoyed it. Very colorful piece, lovely piece. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.